to contribute to this motion. Mr. Speaker, power is everything. Whether it is in industry, agriculture, health, communication, whether it is e-communication, IT, there's nothing you can do without power. So power is development. If the cost of it is high, forget about development. But Mr. Speaker, from what we know, we have 5 major problems with the cost of power in this country. One is the structure we have. We have KPL, we have KenGen, we have Ketraco. One is supposed to produce, the other one to market and control the prices, and the other one is to transmit. Are all these 3 institutions working in harmony? The evidence we have, it is not. It has created inefficiency, which of course is a big problem. The next thing, Mr. Speaker, number 2, is the issue of IPP, Independent Power Producers, and Power Purchase Agreement. Mr. Speaker, this is the killer. Mr. Speaker, these agreements ensure, they have only one purpose, these PPAs, they have only one purpose, to ensure that the producers make a profit, and a huge profit at that, without regard completely for the cost to the consumers. Look at what they have, take-off pay, that if they produce, whether you take it off and use it, you will still pay them. Then look at the capacity cost. It means you must pay for their capacity, whether they use that capacity or not. Mr. Speaker, they also have a higher cost. We have been told here that per unit, KenGen is paid 5 shillings, and then they are paid 52 shillings. Why would we get into an agreement of that nature, Mr. Speaker? We are killing our own people. And then, some of them are using the most expensive means, like the ones in Koru or Moroni. It only produces about 35,000 kilowatt hours, and it's supposed to apply the Western Kenya and Kisumu, which needs over 200. It cannot produce that. And then, Mr. Speaker, all these, like all private institutions, whenever they interact with the public institutions, they actually ensure that they incapacitate public institutions. We have been told that they make sure there's no evacuation. I know, like the one in Koru and Moroni, whichever the place it is, we have to use it because we have no power line. We have been told all the areas of Mutembei and so on, but the biggest one was from Lesos, Kisumu. This line cannot just be done. It was paid for. I was told it was done. It cannot be done. So these independent producers actually sabotage power evacuation so that they're the only people whose power are produced. I remember, I think either it was KenGen or KPL, when the CEO said that if they were to produce all the power, and they seem to say they have the capacity, the cost of the power will be much 4 times lower. Why are we still having this? And Mr. Speaker, the other third thing that is really worrying is that all these costs are transferred to the consumer. So they don't care whether you are inefficient, whether you produce with a very high mode of production of power. Whatever happens, you transfer the cost to the consumer. And Mr. Speaker, why is it possible? Because we have a regulator, EPRA, and this is a weak regulator. It is not independent. It is subject to political manipulation. And so the private sector, the IPPs, literally with their small production of 20%, they are controlling the whole industry or power to the country. So, Mr. Speaker, this is where we have. And this regulator is not only in power, in oil, take EPRA. You people should have noticed that the small oil marketers are actually disappearing. You are only remaining with the big ones. You have Total, you have Rubies, you have Shell. But you can remember, many years back, these were there, but there are other small. The EPRA regulations has made it impossible for the small people to actually market oil. They have the cost for landing, they have the cost at the pump, and then the small marketers buy from them. There is no price in the middle for the reseller. So that these people, they produce, they import, and then they also sell at the pump, and they sell to the resellers. What do they do to the resellers? They sell to them at their pump prices. How can those people compete with them? So they are all moving the whole thing to foreigners in oil. IPPs are doing the same. So, Mr. Speaker, all these, KPL, KenGen, Ketraco, IPPs, all these people are out to exploit Kenyans. How can you have IPPs competing with KenGen? Mr. Speaker, I've had experience that whenever the private sector gets to work side by side with the public sector loses out. I'll tell you, there was a time Kenyatta Hospital, I say what I know, was able to produce its own intravenous fluids. It was a production unit. It was said, oh, this is not its commandate, it should treat people. And then that unit was actually stopped, and we started buying these fluids outside. They were so expensive. When there was an attempt to go back to that, you find that the private sector then actually sabotages that. The same has been with oxygen until COVID came. Then people realized that the private sector, we have to be careful. I know we have the public-private agreements, but we have to be very careful. So, Mr. Speaker, in my view, the issue is the IPPs and the public power purchase agreements and the structuring of the three organs that produce power. Unless we look at that, Mr. Speaker, we are not going anywhere. And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, when we talk of corruption in this country, the assumption is that it is in the public sector. It is like a tango. It takes two to dance. The giver is as guilty as the taker. And let me tell you, all our war against corruption in this country has gone the wrong way. We have actually targeted the public sector, who is mainly the taker. We have done nothing absolutely about the private sector, which is the giver. Until we address that issue, we are going nowhere. We can't we can't think we are going to clean one side of the coin, and that coin will work if the other side is not clean. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this, and when this is resolved and Parliament resolved, it should be implemented. The implementation committee should make sure that this, of all the resolutions we make, is implemented. It is in the interest of Kenya Kwanza anyway, because we just added to our Monday demands that it should be done. But if they brought a thing that is practical like this, and they do it, we will support